I like your shoes, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Those are awesome. Everyone should come take a look at them when they can. This side of the room probably can't see it very well, but you can come hang out afterwards. So how many people here work in hardware? Just want a show of hands. Okay, how many people here work in software? Cool. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about what it is, what this thing is, and then I guess it would be most interesting to talk about just the story of how it came to be. So I'm Jake. The company's called Electric Objects. I'll try to spend an even amount of time on either side. We're a team of 5 people, about to be 6 in a few weeks. We just sort of launched, we started talking about it in maybe February, and then we launched on Kickstarter in July and closed our Kickstarter campaign in August. So there's sort of 2 strands of thought that inform Electric Objects, the purpose of the company. The first is that computers historically over the last 30 years have been designed for productivity or entertainment. And the idea behind Electric Objects is can we make a computer that doesn't demand our attention, that doesn't require our interaction, that doesn't make us more efficient, that simply brings something more beautiful into our environment, makes our homes a lovelier place to be. And there's this guy, Mark Weiser, who was writing a lot in the 90s at Xerox PARC. And he wrote this amazing essay called The Computer for the 21st Century, in which he talked about the future of computing. And he said that we need to start building machines that fit the human environment instead of forcing humans to enter theirs. I encourage everyone to go back and read. He wrote a lot about calm computing and ambient computing. Hey, Grant. Good to see you, man. Sorry, it's my old colleague, Grant. That was sort of a strand of thought that it didn't prompt the project, but as I discovered this work, it became a way for us to articulate what we cared about. The second thing is that there's so much beautiful stuff on the internet. There's more art on the internet than in every gallery and museum on Earth. And I'm talking not just about sort of images of Monet's, but static images, photography, animation, JavaScript, web-based visualization. This stuff that that sort of deserves as much time and attention as a painting or a photograph on our wall, but it's sitting inside of these computers which are designed for productivity. They're designed for quick bursts of information and engagement where we sit down, we use them, and then when we're done with them, we close our laptops, or we turn off our computer, or we put our phones in our pockets, and they tend to fill us with stress. And that's not an experience in which we tend to want to experience art. That's not to say that some art isn't designed for the computer and that some art doesn't benefit from being in that type of context, but it would be interesting, I think, to explore something else, something that was more passive, something that was more ambient, something that faded into the background. And there's an example of our computers. So I'm just getting used to this presentation. So that brings us to Electric Objects. So EO1 is our first prototype. It's a 23-inch IPS display enclosed in a frame that has a wall mount on the back of it. There's a stand that is sold separately that you can buy if you want to put it on a shelf or on a tabletop. Inside of it is an integrated computer. It's a dual-core processor with 1 GB of RAM running an Android OS that we customized, booting to a browser, basically, so that it renders, you can pass it a URL, and it loads the URL, whether it's a static image, an animation, or a visualization. It's controlled by a web application, which I'm going to demo for you really quickly here. Cool. So I'm sorry that you guys over here can't see what I'm doing, but imagine that, oops. Come on. I think I just got disconnected. Stand by. Cool. Okay. So what you're looking at is the website that controls the EO1. All the artwork here has been submitted by about 100 testers that have a version of these things in their homes. And so I can see that this object was found by Alex. If I like it, I can collect it, which adds it to my collection. It's sort of like a bookmark. And if I want, I can display it, and it appears on my wall. And so this thing, the EO1, sometimes it takes a few seconds. Hang in there. There we go. So the EO1 has a Wi-Fi adapter in it. It also has Bluetooth for some fun stuff that we haven't really released yet. But the idea is that you don't touch it. You don't interact with it. It sits on your wall, and all of the control happens on the platforms that are good at interaction, like our phones and our computers. It handles not just static images. Oh, you're rebooting? Yeah. Cool. It crashed. It's the curse of the demo. It also crashes occasionally, which we think is an interesting feature for people. So I'm going to let that load up. So other fun things you can do with the web interface is when you have a piece of hardware that's connected to the internet and people are doing things on it, you can see what they're doing. So this is a community of people that are exploring art and exploring what it means to have the art on your wall, in a persistent, dedicated space. And so you can see that Pascal has had this piece up for about 17 hours in his home. I can see that David has had this piece up for 48 hours. Zoe has had this up for 69 hours. And I can let this inform my taste and inform my own collection. So I can decide to collect this and hit display. And then when the computer boots up, it will come back. Can everyone hear me OK when I'm not speaking directly into the mic? OK, cool. So I also want to show you something that we're just sort of releasing now, which is to this test group. So you can now just pass it a URL. This is a a JavaScript piece by a guy named Casey Reyes, who's one of the co-founders of a programming language called Processing. Has anyone heard of Processing? It's sort of an art internet nerd language, but a lot of visual artists use it to create JavaScript web-based works. And so I can just drop it into this box here, hit set URL, and it loads the URL on the machine. So it's meant to be a very open platform, one that encourages experimentation by developers and artists alike. So I'm going to switch gears now and talk to you a little bit about sort of getting from 0 to here, in case that's interesting. So this is a Raspberry Pi. Has anybody here messed around with the Raspberry Pi? It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I started this project, and I didn't know anything about hardware. Arguably, I still don't know anything about hardware. I knew a little bit about software, enough to build a web application, and I was able to sort of hack my way through the Adafruit tutorial to build what became the first version of this product. This is the first prototype I built in my parents' home last August. It's funny how quickly the first prototype comes. This was like, a week or two of work, and then we spend, 12 months getting to where we are today. But this is basically what the experience was, which is use a web application to press a button and have that image appear on your screen. So then I went out to my friends and I said, is anyone interested in this product? We'll have a little community. The 10, 20 of us can start uploading images, and we can start putting it on our wall and just see what that feels like. And people were kind of into it. And so I started installing these things, and I spent the months of November through February going from home to home with a monitor that I ordered on Amazon, a Raspberry Pi, and a tiny little Wi-Fi adapter that I got on Adafruit. I had a little kit that I would just sort of order every time somebody wanted one. All in all, the setup cost me a little over $250 per person. Slowly, people started actually paying me. They would just cover my costs, which was nice. And then they would join the web application. And each user would start to upload work, and all of a sudden you'd have like a vibrant, interesting community there. And as I was sort of going through this product development process, the stuff that I didn't spend time on, or that I shouldn't have spent time on, but I may have spent a little bit of time on, were the name. Like my friends and the 100 people that ended up trying the prototype didn't care what it was called. The logo didn't really matter. What the frame, the enclosure, like building a custom enclosure, ended up costing us probably tens of thousands of dollars plus 3 months of Bill's time, and you'll meet Bill in a second. That's a ton of work, but it didn't really, the existence of it did not influence whether or not people were going to want this product. Didn't need to hang. I thought it would need to hang, but it turns out people would just lean it, and they were fine with leaning. Didn't need a single cord. It could have a mess of cords because you could hide it in the back. Didn't need to pass Wi-Fi credentials because I was manually going into people's homes and opening up terminal and entering in their Wi-Fi credentials, or sending them a new SD card if they changed, the Wi-Fi credentials. Didn't need a motion sensor, didn't need brightness control. But what I was looking for was this, which was a comment from one of our testers, a guy named Alexis Madrigal out in Oakland. And he said, for me, the core of the product is that each image feels realer than it does on my computer or my phone. You've achieved objecthood in a way that I find shocking and expected. And that's the point, right? The whole program, the whole sort of experiment was around, can we grant these digital objects a sense of materiality and a sense of persistence and a sense of meaning and value that they weren't getting on our computers. And so at this point, I was joined by my 4 colleagues who are here. One person leading software, Jacob Bajani leading software, Bill Coles leading hardware, Zoe Soldich leading community, and Alex Ginsberg over there doing all things design intern, and a tremendous job at that. So, and what we did was we took the prototype, we took the sort of idea and the validation that we had from the first 100 people in the market, and the excitement and this sort of pull from the market, and we started making stuff. So these are Bill's first these are Bill's first mock-ups of the frames. This was super compelling. People would see this. At first we had a mock-up without the panel inside of it, and they'd be like, oh my god, a square screen, that's amazing. What you're looking at is just like a very large frame around a 16:9 screen. So that was sort of a no-go. This piece had a customizable side decorative panel on it, which was cool. This one had a little cut in the corner. This is awesome. This is as a dock, so you just hang the dock, and then you can take the screen off the dock as you want, and it can either stand or hang. This one had a full glass front with a minimal bezel, and this one had no glass with a minimal bezel. We took these around to maybe 5 or 6 or 7 of our smartest design friends and said, give us your feedback, and we got feedback all over the map. We had people who said, I want 0 frame. We had people who said, I want square. We had people who said, I want to like pimp this out and have like gold wooden like unicorns popping out of the corners. And so the decision we made, oh, spoiler, the decision we made was to just keep it extremely minimal and to keep it extremely customizable. So the inner frame here pops out, and you'll be able to buy a custom frame and sort of make it your own, which I think people will find valuable. And then finally, okay, so we have sort of validation of the product. We've started to build the thing, and we know roughly what it's going to cost and how to do it and how to build it and when it's going to get built by. And we launched on Kickstarter, which is an amazing platform. It's totally not a sustainable sales channel by definition, but it gives you, if we went on Kickstarter and 100 people bought the thing, we probably shouldn't be making it. We need, we should go back to the drawing board and think about 2 minutes, okay, 3 minutes, okay, and think about what it is we're doing and whether, like, what did we get wrong, what was lost in translation. Kickstarter allows you to basically for free go and get market validation to see if a reasonable sample size of people would buy the thing. Now, I do think that it's also a great first sales channel because it's full of early adopters. For us, it was particularly great because it's full of technology people who love art. And so it was a wonderful platform for us and gave us the confidence and the cash to take this thing to production. This is just sort of some background on production from here. Bill can dive into any of these things if you guys want to talk about it, but we promised the first 100 units in January. So for people that paid a little bit more, they'll get the product early. Then the following May is when we'll ship the remaining few thousand units or however many pre-orders we get between now and then. I'm not super worried about pre-orders between now and May. Frankly, I think the only thing it does is if we get like another 1,000 people, I'm not sure what that teaches us about the product. What I'd love to see is to get this in a few thousand people's hands and see if are they buying artwork? Are they telling their friends about it? Are they having setup problems? Like, I think our attitude is let's sort of treat each of these milestones in turn and not get too far ahead of ourselves. So with that, I think that's it. Yeah, thank you. With that, I want to just, if you guys want to come up, and then my team is going to come up, and then if you guys have questions, we're happy to answer any of all of them. Thank you for your time. We'll just stand around. Sweet.
Very cool. Thank you. Very nicely done. What surprised you? I mean, you mentioned a few things that you didn't need to focus on, but like in terms of completely unexpected difficulty in the process of building this, something that you thought was going to work and didn't work. If anything.
Does anyone have a good answer for that? What we thought was going to work and didn't work. You know, I probably shouldn't say this, but what I'm super nervous about, so to date, no one's, people have only used the Raspberry Pi prototype, like 100 people have used the Raspberry Pi prototype, and it can only render static images, and they really like it. And so what I'm worried about is that we went all this effort to support JavaScript and that people are just going to continue using static images. So anyways, I don't usually talk about that worry, but that's a chief concern. I guess that doesn't answer your question though, is what surprised me. I hope that doesn't surprise me, if that's an answer.
So can you introduce your team?
Oh, yeah. So this is Jacob. Jacob leads up all things product and software at Electric Objects. This is Zoe, who's responsible for building a community of artists around the product and to incentivize them to create original work for Electric Objects so that people are buying, and we're building an ecosystem within it. And then Bill does all the hardware things. He's an industrial designer turned mechanical engineer and has been doing this for about 20 years, taking products from concept to production.
So, one of the many things I love about this is that there's something so New York about this, right? This intersection between hardware, software, art, community, which I think is really awesome. I'm going to pass the mic over to you guys. Just one question, because I see this on the Twitter feed. Any thoughts on Apple today, the smartwatch, as a hardware entrepreneur?
I'm really glad they didn't release a digital frame for art. I was pretty pleased about that. I thought it was, I'm going to buy one. I thought it was cool. I thought the fact that they ended with U2 was kind of lame, but otherwise, yeah, I thought it was amazing. That company, it's an amazing group of people. I don't know, people were excited right there. I didn't read the tech press. Are they disappointed, or are they? Okay, yeah, I don't know. What I'm saying is not controversial. It was very exciting, and I can't wait to buy one.
First name and company?
Sure. My name is Alan. I'm from Simply. I have a question. One of the key components of your product is the panel. So have you had any issues sourcing the panel and also keeping the quality very consistent when you source?
Want to take it?
Yeah, we're looking at 23-inch panels, so there's only a couple of really good panels on the market from good suppliers, so we're focusing on a good supplier. We haven't had any issues yet. We haven't done complete testing of what we're looking at, so hopefully there's no surprises.
Have you put in an order for it and a supplier?
Yeah, we've got an order for the first.
Question so that it gets captured by the.
Sure. Yeah, the question was any difficulties in finding panel suppliers. Is that?
And then have we placed an order?
Yeah, we didn't have a placed an order. Yes, we have placed an order for the first 100 pieces, which will be coming out in January.
Choose which one.
Hi, Oliver Mitchell, Mach 5 Ventures. I protect intellectual property. I saw Jeff Koons on the network. I saw some other artwork that's, I imagine the artists might not want, the ones that are on the wall.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, what we're dealing with, so the question is about intellectual property. What we're dealing with there is not unique. It's any web platform that allows its users to upload images has to deal with these issues. The way that it's typically done is that we're responsive to takedown notices, DMCA takedown notices, and if an artist reaches out and identifies an image that belongs to them, then we'll take it down. Any artwork that is sold through the platform will go through more of a review process where we're Electric Objects is standing behind the fact that the artist, who's uploading it actually owns the artwork. There's a bunch of.
Jim Allen. Question is, trying to understand the business model and where you're making your money. Is it both you're selling the hardware as well as some kind of subscription or selling content?
Yes. you understand it. Yeah, it's we'll sell the hardware, we'll sell accessories, and then we'll sell artwork within the system and take a cut and pass most of it on to the artist.
What's an
Accessory?
Yeah.
So the stand is an accessory, the custom frames will be the accessories. We want to do custom cords as well eventually, so that people can, again, sort of individualize it a little bit. Yeah.
One or two more maybe in the back. Andrew, behind you.
Hi guys. You got some impressive press. So what suggestions can you make to start trying to get press for a new product?
It's really, you just sort of, you keep bothering people. You make friends with journalists. I mean, so I worked on a startup prior to this, and we had gotten some press, and so I sort of developed relationships with journalists and was able to leverage some of those relationships. And then I think you have to write the story for them. You have to tell it in such a way that they're like, okay, that's a compelling story, and you have to think about what do their readers want to hear, and then back into the story that you tell to the press. Sort of.
And then back into the facts.
Right, and then decide on what the facts should be. And the other thing I would say is just be totally transparent. I mean, I was writing about this. Like, there was no stealth mode. I wrote a blog post and said exactly what I was going to do months ago, and so it was in the mind of journalists, and it was in the sort of ecosystem. And my users are my 100 users. They all have their own followings on. A lot of them are in media, and so it was sort of out there in the I don't know, like festering for months before, I finally said, okay, let's talk about a piece.
All right, time for one last one.
Oh, hi, Jerry Mins. What do the artists think about what you're doing? I mean, it's kind of interesting in a sense you're opening up a channel from the artist to the customer, which allows the artist to change what the customer sees and challenge them and all that. Have you thought about any feedback from the customer to the artist, and how's all that work?
Yeah, wow, this is so far, most every artist we've approached has been really excited about the opportunity to make work specifically for electric objects. And we're entertaining a number of different ideas of how that work is delivered. So there's that pay-per-piece, like a la carte sort of mode, but also the idea of a curated show, so an artist can control your screen, or you can subscribe to an institution like a museum that you really trust, and you're like, I don't know about art, but I know the MoMA does, and maybe they can take care of the work that appears on my screen. So those are models that are both interesting to artists, institutions, and the customer.
It's good. Cool.
All right, so that's all the time we have. This is truly awesome stuff.
Thank you
Thanks
very much.
guys.
Thank you.